Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Sky. Today I have something exciting for you guys. I actually got sent a set of markers to try out for you guys by the very sweet people at Arrtx. They sent me their 36 acrylic marker set and I can't wait to try them. These markers are pretty cool since they are no pumping, meaning when you start using them you do not have to pump them in order for the ink to flow into the nib, so they are almost basically ready to go once you open them up. The markers on them do recommend you shake them a little, but that is probably just to make sure the paint is mixed well within the barrel before you use it. First impressions of the markers are that they are really smooth and go down really nicely. One thing I did notice off the bat was that the ink flow of the markers is really good and the colors are super duper bright. Something I really liked was that even with the lighter shades like the lighter yellow and lighter pink, they did not require a whole lot of layering to be opaque. I probably used like 1 or 2 layers and they came out pretty bold and not very sheer, so that is a very good thing. I did have a little mistake on my swatch sheet that I only noticed till after I finished swatching all of the markers. When I was swatching, I was just picking the markers right out of the box because they were pretty much in rainbow order when I opened them, which is the way I like to swatch things if I get a set of new products. But I did not notice that the markers were out of order number-wise. It was maybe like 2 markers out of order, but it still hurt when I noticed it. For the spread, I decided to be a little self-indulgent and chose to draw some moths. I am currently in the process of rewriting a story for some older characters of mine, and one of them is actually part moth, but I also really just like moths in general. I wanted to have a variety of moths to paint, but I mainly stayed within the giant silk moth family. I do wish, however, I chose some from other moth families so I had some other color options. Maybe some that were more purple or blue, or maybe even some that could have been like green or yellow. Finding references was actually a bit on the difficult side, considering I wanted references that had the face of the moth, because I think their faces are just so cute, and my cuteness aggression gets really big when I see a moth. Just their faces and their big eyes and their big antennas, and they're so fluffy, and moths are just so cute. It was a struggle since if you look up a specific moth, you most of the time get images of just their wing patterns, since that's kind of what most people look up. But I was looking for good references pictures for a good little bit. When it came to actually painting with them, I felt a little bit intimidated, considering the most experience I have had with acrylic markers has been mostly using them as more finishing details on a bigger piece and never really as the main art supply. So before using them, I did watch some other YouTubers using acrylic markers just to kind of get a better feeling of how others may use them and their techniques that they use. Something I knew that I wanted to do going into using the markers was that I wanted to use bolder colors in places you might not typically see them, such as maybe using a red where pink is for shading. That is something I did quite a lot in these paintings, or using yellow and pink as a highlight in place of white, or just a lighter color of the current color you're using. I saw some other artists doing this and I wanted to give it a try. As I was going from moth to moth, I definitely see what I was improving on and what I need to more work on. The first moth I did was a rosy maple moth, which is the same species that my character is that inspired this whole spread. In the beginning, I do see that I was randomly placing the marker strokes instead of actually thinking of where to put them to achieve the look I was going for. However, I did really like the use of red in the shadows of the pink. The shadow of the yellow is a different story. I mainly used a bright orange for it, but I kind of wish I used more of the mustard yellow marker that came in the set. I did use it later on, which I think helped tone down the orange a lot. Something else I think that would have helped would have been using more of a gradient technique as well within the shadow, going from darkest color to a middle color then to a main color, kind of how I normally do when I am working with alcohol markers. The second moth that I chose was a Luna moth. Luna moths have some of the prettiest wing colors in my opinion, and the set came with literally the most perfect match to the color of a Luna moth wing. The color is T508 if you're curious. Out of all the moths, I think this was the most successful, and it probably was my favorite out of the four. The shading on the wings really is what brought the Luna moth together, as it added some depth to them, and the veins on the wings came out good as well. Shading the body was another challenge to do, since the body on a Luna moth is white. I didn't want to straight up just use grays, so I actually took a look at the reference and noticed that there was a bounce light coming off of the wings and going onto the body, and making a light cyan/teal color go onto the body. I think using pink to add some highlights on the body is one of my favorite things as well, since it complements all the green going on within the wings. I decided to add some looser liner to some of the wings and the body just to kind of help shapes be more noticeable in the painting. The third moth is a royal walnut. This one was interesting to do since the reference I used was a top-down image, so the body was the main focus of the image. The body was segmented into multiple blocks of a lighter yellow and orange, so kind of doing this one I feel was easier than doing some of the other ones. The shading was very minimal, but again, I really liked using the red in the shadows of colors that would be considered more on the warmer side. This moth was probably the easiest out of the 4 to do and probably was the quickest one, and it is my second favorite moth of the ones that I did. The wings were a little challenge, however, to do. The reference image I was using made the wings look a little bit on the transparent side. I'm not quite sure if they are transparent, but the picture made it look like it was. I used the lightest gray that I had and did sort of like a flicking motion towards the middle of the wing just to kind of help get some white through and so it wasn't fully gray. After doing that, I went in with the yellow to get the yellow dots that royal walnut moths have on their wings, and then I went back in with a white to try and lighten the parts of the wings that had some light showing through it. I do think I was pretty successful on it, and the wings, honestly, this one's probably his second favorite. I just really like everything about it. I definitely was seeing improvement in this one over the other 2 that I did before. Again, at the end, I added some minimal liner just to help give some shape and help separate some colors like I did on the Luna moth. The very last moth that I did was an IO moth. This is where I kind of wish that I chose a different moth to do, maybe one that was more blue or purple, because the colors of the IO and the colors of the royal walnut were very similar in the ways of that they both had orange within their color palette. This one is probably my least favorite out of the 4 that I did. If I were to go back and do it again, I would have planned my colors out a little better. When it came to the wings, I did not have a darker brown, like a dark chocolate color to add to some parts in the wings, so I opted for using black in its place, but I very sparingly used the black from just being scared of using too much of it. I think my reference image had light going through the wings, so there was a lot of texture that I tried to replicate, but I don't think I was very successful. I was doing a lot of stippling and a lot of dotting with the white, which I think kind of overpowered the brown, and I think I tried to go in with more brown, and I don't think it just really worked out the way I wanted it to. However, the body of this moth, I think I succeeded on the goal of trying to use more bold colors. The body is definitely my favorite part of this fourth moth. The body on this one also was kind of white like the Luna moth, so I tried to use some red and orange to be highlights and shadows versus using like pink and teal like I did on the Luna moth. Overall, I think this one was my least favorite, mainly because it came out a little flatter than what I wanted it to, unlike the other moths, which I feel like have some depth to them. After I finished painting the moths, I did go in and give them some objects to stand on to add some interest in the spread and to just kind of help the moths not look like they're floating in space. I like the yellow that I added onto the leaves and the branches, as it gave a little bit more interest and again helped me reach that goal of trying to add some more bolder random colors within the paintings. I did try to add a background to the rosy maple moth, which it did not come out how I wanted it to. I was trying to go for like a woodsy background and I don't think I succeeded at all. And that is when I decided to just draw the branches and the leaves with no background on the other moths. I think if I could change some of the techniques that I used, I would have definitely tried to add more gradients all around what I was drawing just to kind of help give some more depths in the painting. I also wish I went back in and added some more line art, either with a pen or maybe even one of the markers, just to again help with shape and give some more interest with using some line weight. I definitely think I would have had a lot of help if I went in beforehand, like on like the side of the moths. If I tried out colors before I just straight up put them down, it probably would have helped me see and plan out the colors a little better. Then, off camera, I decided to add some more doodling around the page and around the moths, and just to, again, add a little bit more to the spread. And I would call it done. Again, thank you so much to Arrtx for sending me these markers and letting me try them out for you guys. It was super fun to try out a new art supply, and I will definitely be using these more in my sketchbook. If you're interested in getting a set of your own, I will be linking some places you can purchase them down in the description below. So if you want to get yourself some markers, you can find some links down there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the little moths that I painted, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Till next time, bye!